This research many years ago, back in 2006, I came up to know that the broadband internet penetration in Malaysia was quite below the average. It was about only 30%. Alright, but now it is actually reached 75%. Okay, nevertheless, when I started my PhD, it was on studies of the adoption. But now what I have done is I have actually included to study on the continuous intention. Once a person has adopted internet, how is the perception on the continuance part, right? So my topic is more on the technology management. I compared to compared to the papers that you guys have presented are very technical in nature, right? So the slow uptake of broadband services has actually led Malaysian government. Malaysian government has a lot of vision on how to improve the penetration of the Malaysian household internet adoption. So therefore, the government have to revise the adoption rate from time to time because due to many factors, we are unable to reach the optimistic level, which was 75%, right? So the problem is, based on the previous literature, there are very few researchers that focus on broadband adoption in Malaysia, all right? And this is in line with the Customer Satisfaction Index, which was conducted by MCMC, saying that Malaysian broadband subscribers are only 3.55 satisfied out of a scale of 10. So anything less than 5 is very dissatisfying, right? So therefore, we are trying to identify why the customer satisfaction index is quite low for all these internet subscribers in Malaysia, right? So whenever we adopt to a new technology is actually a first step. But how to maintain an existing subscriber to sustain with the service for a longer period of time, that is another bigger challenge, right? For example, in order to get a new customer, to get a new subscriber, it is 5 to 6 times more difficult. More costs have to be spent in order to get a new customer. So might as well, as a telecommunication company, we will rather do our ways and our means to maintain the existing customers to be loyal to the subscription. Okay. So this is one of the press release in July 2007. More homes to get broadband. This was an initiative by the Malaysian government. So how many of you are quite familiar with the word Unify? Okay, Unify. So it says it's a very high-speed service, right? High-speed broadband service to your home. So this is actually part of the government initiative. And as you know, not all the areas are Unify covered. Okay, some of the areas are still relying on the conventional streamings or dial-up services. So the internet facts by 2015, which was last year, 9.3 million out of 17.4 million will be broadband users. This statistic on Malaysia. Alright, in 2011, 5.1 out of 16.9 were broadband users. Alright, so you see the increment is quite drastic over the last years. Right? And it was forecasted by 2015 that we will actually reach about 9.3 million on the broadband usage. Right? So this is purely on broadband. If you're talking about you're using the toggle that fixed to your USB and you're using, that not necessarily mean a broadband. It can be just a mobile internet usage. Alright? So back to again the definition of broadband. So, based on literatures, we found out that achieving a customer satisfaction is a very important factor in maintaining a longer lasting customer to be loyal to us. And I have mentioned earlier, many of the internet service providers are struggling to maintain their existing subscribers because subscribers nowadays they have plenty of choice, so they can move from one place to another place, right? From one provider to another provider. So how to sustain them from moving from our incumbent services to our competitor. So this is a challenge over here. And for broadband internet service provider organization, the continued usage decision. Okay, for example, in an area out of 100 houses, let's say 75 houses are already subscribed to Unify services or any other internet services. So will they continue subscribing? Okay, why it is important to the cable company? Because coming from the telecommunication industry, we have to invest. We have to invest on the maintenance, we have to invest on how to upgrade the backhaul services and things like that. So all this comes with a cost, right? So the potential from increasing user retention rate can include a substantial reduction in operating costs. Just imagine a housing area which has 100 houses. We compare two different housing areas that has 100 houses. If you have 75% of penetration in housing area A and 50% in housing area B, the 75% will give you a better return of investment because you only pay certain amount to do the maintenance. Therefore, it has been covered for all the 75% houses. So the same amount of money you are actually spending for the 50% penetration as well. So when you do this kind of comparison, you can actually save a lot of cost when you have higher retention. And you know for sure that these customers are going to be with you for a longer period of time. So now my motivation of the study is how to identify what are the factors that will influence a person to adopt to broadband technology as well as to continue using the broadband internet technology. Right? So these are my research questions. Does satisfaction influence broadband continuous intention? Okay, these are my variables in my model. So basically, I can divide all my variables into two main aspects. One is actually the adoption intention. The other one is a continuance intention. All right. So these two are my main important aspects of my research. All right. And also, does broadband internet intention influence the actual usage? You might have the intention, but have you actually went to try it, or whether you have actually subscribed it? There's two different things. You intend to do something and you have actually done something, right? And if does broadband continuous intention influence actual continuance? Okay, you feel that you want to continue using the internet for a longer period of time. What if suddenly a new technology comes in with much cheaper pricing? So would you terminate your existing subscription and move to the new subscription? So what happens to the current ISP which has actually invested in the copper cables or in the fiber cables and all that? So all will be gone to waste. So and also the last one is to initial usage and continuous intention of broadband determine the broadband using continuance. So for example, when you have actually used the system, you already have an initial experience of using the system, whether that initial experience will actually influence the intention to continue or not. So basically these are my 6 research questions, right? So this is my theoretical framework. I've actually grouped 2 different models and I've actually included 2 other variables into my existing model, and this is my contribution in the term of my framework development. Alright, so my first model is known as UTAP, Unified Theory of Unified Acceptance and Theory of Acceptance, and also Information Science Continuous Model. So on my left is actually the UTAP model, on my right is actually the Information Science Continuous Model. So I have grouped both these together by combining the 2 satisfaction factors. Right? Satisfaction as like a mediator between these 2 models. And over here, UTAP initially has only 4 variables and I've included another 2, which I think suitable for my study over here. Okay? So mainly there are perceived playfulness. When you use an internet technology, whether you feel it is enjoyable enough for you to use it or not. Okay? Most of us use internet for variety of entertainment purpose nowadays, especially younger kids. Okay, performance expectancy, it's relating to whether the internet is actually helping you to do your work efficiently or not. Perceived innovativeness. Okay, when you use this internet, is it actually allowing you to be more innovative? For example, in China, right, or even in India, young kids are actually learning how to develop applications. But in Malaysia, the situation is not the same. Malaysians are, normally we are just typical users. Okay, you ask about Facebook users, we are recording one of the highest Facebook users. But do you see anybody coming up with new applications? Alright? So therefore, this is one of the factors that we are trying to study whether it will influence the intention to adopt or continuance. Effort expectancy. Whether to use the internet, whether it is easy or hard, whether it's easy or difficult for you to use. I think kids nowadays, you just give them a gadget and they know how to operate it. So this is something like, you don't have to actually put an effort to know. Or maybe one time you learn, that's it. Social influence. Your neighbors have it, you also want to have an internet connection. Okay, for example, there's always used to be because coming from a telecommunication industry, most of the time we have customers complaining, my neighbor has high-speed broadband, but I don't have high-speed broadband. Because we cannot provide the service due to limitation of the copper cables or limitation of the boundary service. So, that will be the first complaint, or especially from the companies. Oh, my neighbor company has Unify. How come my company don't have Unify? Please plan some projects for us. So this is what we hear day in, day out. And last but not least is a facilitating condition. This back again, like whether there is a help desk, a technical person is available for you whenever you have encountered any issues. For example, if you have problem with Unify, you call 100, right? Okay, or if you have any problem with the telephone services, you call 100, you complain. Whether you get resolved or not, that is a separate story. But for you to escalate, there is an avenue for you. Okay, and over here is actually the continuous intention, whether you have the intention to continue the service or not. Alright, and whether you have the intention to adopt or to subscribe to a technology or not. So these will actually point to initial usage, and once you have initial usage experience, you will determine whether you will actually continue or not. So end of the day, this is my DV, my dependent variable. Over here is all of my independent variables, and I glue it together in my satisfaction. Because satisfaction is something that you really can't measure, you know. That's why you have developed scales and all that. Right? So at the current situation, it's only 3.55 out of 10, which is a very low satisfaction level. Okay? So in my research, we are going to see how all these factors are going to be glued to the continuance of usage based on the satisfaction. Right? And UTAR, I have to acknowledge my two superheroes here. UTAR was developed by Professor Viswanath Venkatesh, and IS continuous model developed by Professor Anu. Right? So when we develop two, you get my face there later. Okay, this is my research methodology. Basically, I've done literature review. I have validated my content by determining the items in the survey instrument, whether it reflects the content universe or not. Okay, most of the research paper was done, most of my research literature was conducted in UK context. So therefore, in Malaysia, whether it's applicable or not. So therefore, there are certain variables that I have actually omitted, and I have included, remember I did mention earlier, I have included two other variables to suit the Malaysian context. Okay, I've done a pre-test and a pilot test. I've actually contacted a few ASP providers, those who are managers and AGMs above, and you get the respondents whether the questionnaire is understandable, whether it's easy English, whether some of the technical jargons are easily understood or not.
Since we have limited number of minds, so can we just
finishing ready. Okay. Then I move on to my confirmatory study, this is where I come up with my final questionnaire. Right? So my questionnaire basically have 37 constructs. Okay, and I actually used 7-point Likert scale as well to fill in, and I did analyze based on PLS, partial least square. Okay, SPSS is actually an old generation statistical tools. We have migrated to PLS now, but basically we still have to input the response in SPSS. Okay, so this is my result analysis. My model, based on my model, performance expectancy, facilitating condition, and perceived playfulness should be further nurtured for intention to adopt to broadband internet. Okay, that means these variables are very important. Okay, a person who feels by using internet technology will assist the work to be done effectively and efficiently, and also whenever they encounter any issues, there is an avenue or channel for them to escalate their problems, and whether the system is enjoyable. Okay, talking about entertainment. So these three aspects have to be further nurtured. Alright, when it comes to continuance of intention to use broadband internet, is performance expectancy again, perceived playfulness, facilitating condition, social influence, and satisfaction. So to have an intention to adopt, you have three important variables that you need to focus, and for continuance, you have 5 variables that you need to focus. And intention to adopt broadband internet should be further nurtured for actual usage. Okay, the higher the intention, the stronger the actual experience of the particular user. So the conclusion is, out of 28 hypotheses, only 20 are supported. Okay, 8 are not supported in my study. Okay, the general conclusion that I can come out with that service providers such as internet service provider, government agencies, telecommunication practitioners like me, and application developers need to work in hand to support the adoption growth of broadband internet, and also in ensuring that these existing subscribers are still loyal and continue to use the technology in the future. Right? So the one that I highlighted again are significant: performance expectancy, perceived playfulness, and facilitating condition. and the one that in red are those who are not, which are not significant. For example, effort expectancy and perceived innovativeness. This is what I meant by Malaysians are not innovative enough. We are just a typical user. You come out with a new system, we are very good users. Okay, the adoption rate will be very high, the subscription rate will be very high. But when you ask a typical Malaysian household member to develop something, that's where the challenge is. Alright? And again about effort expectancy, to learn to use a computer, I think internet is in Malaysia for the past 20 years, more than 20 years. So to learn to use this technology is not a hassle. So therefore these two factors are not significant. Right? With this, I end my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, IR Sanavanan. So we open for one question from the audience.
I have a question. Okay, good presentation. Just wanted to know, I have in my house a broadband system within Phoenix. We upgraded from 1 meg to 4 meg. But in terms of the speed, after I upgraded, I see
No changes.
No changes. And then they asked me to migrate to the Unified, which they have a more, but the charges is higher. So I don't understand why they have two. Is it Unified is a competitor for TM, or what is the things they want to?
Okay.
Even though I paid more for upgrade, but I don't have the quality of service. Not good.
Okay, basically, the copper cable has limitation, and copper cable, as you know, over time will get eroded due to weather condition and all that. So each copper line can only go up to certain bandwidth. So initially you have started with 1 meg. Okay, over time you feel 1 meg is not enough. So when you actually upgrade it to a higher bandwidth, the copper cable might not be able to support. Unify is not a competitor to telecom, but Unify is actually an alternative service to Streamix. Both are under TM. Alright, so Unify is riding on a purely fiber cable. So remember the Streamix which is riding on a copper cable, this is purely fiberized. So fiber has higher capacity, it can carry to higher bandwidth. Now I think we can give up to 50 meg for home users.
No, if you say the fiber, the copper cable cannot go for 4 meg, and how come the people in telecom they're promoting this? That means they are cheating.
In a way, you are right. Actually, this is done by the agents. The agents will be doing the cold call to people, asking them to upgrade. But there is no handshaking system. There is no mechanism that actually checks whether your house location, the cable can support up to whatever bandwidth. So after they process the line, then after you complain, I'm not getting enough bandwidth as you have promised, then what we will advise is downgrade back to the normal package or switch over to Unified.